Who had us at 11-11 on their bingo card before the start of the season? Not me, and probably not a lot of you either. Let's get to it. Okay, so Rutgers loses at home to Michigan 66-63, where basketball is having issues with Michigan teams in recent history. Rutgers and Michigan teams not perfect together. We lose 66-63 at the rack. We are now 11-11 and 4-8 in the Big 10, and one game or 1.5 games out of the basement and missing the Big 10 tournament. If I told you guys that there would be 2 guys responsible for the first 15 out of 19 points and more than half the points in the game, and you said it would be Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, you were wrong. Of course, Dylan is getting some rest. Not sure how the rest of the season looks in this day and age of NIL, revenue sharing, preparing for the next step into professional sports, although I would say that college athletics now are professional sports because you're getting paid big money. And yes, players right now are signing revenue sharing deals. In fact, there is a lawsuit by a Wisconsin player who wants to transfer to Miami. Wisconsin won't let him transfer because he signed a 2-year revenue sharing contract. Nonetheless, don't want to digress. Who knows if Dylan will, Dylan's the kind of guy who's going to want to play, but realities being what they are, we'll see how that shakes out for the rest of the season. Nonetheless, Tyson Acuff and J. Mike put in work tonight. We'll get to that in a second. For Michigan, Danny Wolf had 16 points, 14 rebounds, 4 block shots. Vlad Golin had 14 points for Michigan. So they're now 16-5 and 8-2 in the Big 10, which is kind of where I thought we should be at this point, this time of the year, before the season started. Those two guys down the stretch from Michigan kind of kept a cap on things in the final minutes. And it was frustrating because, as I've said, we're consistently inconsistent in where we tend to come up short. I mean, we've talked about how we're not great in the paint. We don't defend the 3. We don't play well together as a team, but every once in a while, rebounding, some of those things we do okay, and we lose in other areas. Tonight was one of those nights where Michigan had 17 turnovers, and I think we had 11, and Michigan still won. Ironically, they had more points off. Actually, no, it was the same. Points off turnovers. Both teams had like 14 points. We out-rebounded Michigan 37-36. So we had less turnovers, more rebounds, and we still lost. And it's because our other bugaboo. We had poor shooting tonight. We'll get to that in a second. But the final score, 66-63, kind of wasn't that close. J. Mike hits a 3 at the buzzer to make it seem closer than it was. These teams played ugly. It wasn't a pretty game, especially the start. This reminded me of like Rutgers and Michigan from a couple years ago. Michigan wasn't very good at that point, and they had expected to do better, but never reached that point with Mr. Fab Five, or one of the Fab Five, Juwan Howard, and it was kind of an ugly game. We opened 2 for 11 from the field, turned it over 6 times in the first several minutes. We're down 9-4, and as what's been typical with us lately, we've fall behind early, even with different starting lineups. It didn't matter which lineup was in there. We fall behind early. We climb back in it, and you think, okay, we're back in it. And we actually, I think we take the lead. What was it, 21-20, 22-21, something like that. And on an Ace Bailey shot, then Michigan hits a shot. They take the lead, and then they go on like a 10-0 run. And they wind up taking the lead for the rest of the game. So you never, even though Rutgers in the second half kind of kept it close, you never got the feeling that this was a team that was going to wear down Michigan like we have in the past and take the lead, or just sprint ahead and take the lead. And, Ace had, his little highlight reel dunk down the stretch in the first half, but it really didn't matter because he had, when we talked about how the 15 out of the first 19 points scored by J. Mike and Tyson Acuff. Ace had 0 points. Who would have thought that? You would have thought maybe Ace had 15 in the first 19 points, but that wasn't the case. But J. Mike and Tyson had 34 of the 63 points. J. Mike was 8 for 14 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3. A big improvement. We all know how he's not great at three-pointers. I think it was 20% last year, 22% again this year. Hits a 3 as time expired. It really didn't matter. Tyson Acuff had 14 points, 4 for 8 from 3, in only 20 minutes. So that was a pretty productive 20 minutes for Tyson Acuff. But the starters, much like the game against Wisconsin, it was the bench that did most of the scoring. Starters weren't great. Ace, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 for 7 from 3. But he had 3 assists. I think that's the first time in 4 games he's had an assist. So Lathan Somerville just plugging along, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 25 minutes. Durkak, another quiet night after his 26-point outburst. I think he had 3 points. Dylan Grant, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 for 6 from the field. I don't know what's up with Jeremiah Williams. He's continuing to not do well. He's regressing. 0 points in 9 minutes. The rest of the bench, also 9 minutes. Dortch had 0 points, but had 5 rebounds. P.J. Hayes and Zach Martini, both 3 points, but Zach Martini played 27 minutes. And when we talk about how this season has been disappointing, and it's not because Villains missed some games here, Ace Bailey missed some time early. We just haven't been able to integrate guys who are good players. All right, Durkak, Player of the Year in the MAC. Tyson Acuff, 6th or 7th or 8th leading scorer last year, 22.8 points per game. P.J. Hayes and Zach Martini, both 40% three-point shooters. We can't get them. We can't get the sets right. We can't get them into rhythm. So, and then, in addition to other things like getting killed in the paint and three-point defense not being good and not shooting three-pointers at a high percent. I mean, there's a lot of things that have gone wrong. We did out-rebound Michigan 37-36. We actually had more steals, 13-8. We got out, but we I always say this, we got out-assisted again, 18-13. If you're getting out-assisted every game, that means you're not hitting your shots and/or you don't play good team basketball. Michigan also had 7 blocks against our 1 block. So, we have the rotating puzzle pieces as to what we're really going to suck at on any particular night, and it's usually a handful of things that we do poorly at. But the big reason why is after, I think, 3 games in a row where we shot between 46 to 49%, 50%, we shot under 33%, while Michigan shot 48%. And we shot 28% from 3. We're starting to revert to last year. Michigan shot, not a hell of a lot better, but they shot 35%. And it was shooting against Northwestern, and it made a difference in that win. Tonight wasn't our night for that. We shot 69% from the free throw line, which is a little better than we've done recently. What did we shoot last game? 56%. And Michigan was at 71%. So again, I think it came down to, it's always going to be a handful of things for us. But the major thing was our ability to, hit shots. And so we're now 8-3 at the trapezoid of terror, 8-5 locally, which technically aren't home games, but kind of are. We had lost to Princeton at Newark and Michigan State at the Garden. Got a tough stretch coming up. Not really sure what to say anymore. There's no miracles coming down the road. Got Illinois. I mean, these teams are beatable, kind of, but the way that we play, not really. So we got Illinois, Maryland, Iowa, and Oregon. Those should all be tough games. And we have Washington, which is a winnable game, but they're also 11-10. And USC, another winnable game, but they just beat Michigan State. So you never know in the Big Ten. Even the so-so teams pick off some good wins. And then, we finish at Michigan, which won't be easy, at Purdue, which won't be easy, and then home against Minnesota, a competition for the basement of the Big Ten. They're now 11-11 as well, and 15th in the Big Ten. I think they might be a game behind in the win column. So I don't foresee any runs to the Big Ten tournament. This is, I think, the last part of the season. The last several games will kind of go the way that they've gone, regardless if Dylan's in, Dylan's not in. Won't matter much. And a very disappointing season. It'll be interesting to see how next year shakes up. What is it going to look like? I think it was a foregone conclusion that Ace and Dylan both would be gone after 1 year. But you never know. With their representation, talking to NBA scouts, and maybe how they view those guys might change a little bit. But in the end, I think guys will always chase the money, and I think there's guys in professional organizations, especially in football, that fall in love with players and see the potential upside, and will always take that risk. So we'll see where we will be by the end of this year and going into next season. But something to look forward to. It's not all bad news, although a lot of it is bad news. Tomorrow we're in Minnesota, and this is a big match. Minnesota is ranked 8th in the country, and I think we're 11-4. We just defeated number 10 Illinois. If we can get another win against number 8 Minnesota, that's a boost to the program, to Rutgers athletics. Yes, it's not Penn State. Yes, it's not Iowa. Yes, it's not Ohio State. Yes, it's not Michigan. Minnesota, but they are ranked number 8 and number 10. And these teams like Minnesota, Illinois, doesn't matter what sport, they're our peers. We need to start leaping in front of teams like Minnesota and Illinois. Doesn't matter if it's wrestling, football, or basketball. we have to put in work and get the job done. We need to get some momentum going forward and getting some shine on us and somewhere. And if it has to be wrestling, it has to be wrestling. So good luck to Rutgers wrestling tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will see you the next time. Hopefully with some wins.